6 signs you might intimidate people without realizing it. Some people walk into a room and shift the air without lifting a finger. They're not loud, not arrogant, not trying to dominate. Yet somehow, their presence sends quiet ripples through the people around them. If you've ever wondered why others seem extra careful with their words, why strangers hold a subtle tension around you, or why people treat you like you carry some invisible authority, the truth may be simple: you intimidate them without realizing it. This isn't about fear in the dramatic sense. It's about the silent impact of your energy, your composure, and the way you move through the world. Many who carry a strong inner core don't even know they're doing it. To them, they're just being themselves. To others, however, that self holds weight. It reflects their own insecurities, their doubts, or the parts of themselves they haven't mastered yet. Today, we're peeling back the layers of this quiet power. Here are 6 signs you may be intimidating people without ever trying. 1. People over-explain themselves around you. One of the clearest signs you carry an intimidating presence is the way people begin to over-explain simple things when they speak to you. It's subtle but unmistakable. A harmless question becomes a 5-minute justification. An innocent mistake becomes a carefully narrated story, and their everyday decisions suddenly require footnotes. They aren't doing this because you're confrontational. In fact, it's usually the opposite. You're composed, observant, and difficult to read. Your silence and clarity act like a mirror. And when people look into that mirror, they become conscious of how they appear. Your calmness creates a contrast they can feel. They start worrying that you'll catch inconsistencies, judge their choices, or see through their excuses, even when you haven't implied any judgment at all. Deep down, they sense that you're not easily fooled, not by words, not by noise, not by emotional theatrics. And because they're unsure how much you perceive, they fill the quiet space with explanations. You don't ask them to defend themselves, but your presence makes them want to. 2. They get quiet when you enter. You might have noticed moments when you step into a room and the volume drops, not dramatically, but enough for you to sense a shift. Conversations soften, laughter loses its height, and people take a moment to recalibrate. This isn't because you disrupt the mood, it's because your presence changes the tone without asking for permission. You radiate a kind of groundedness that makes others instinctively straighten up, as if they've suddenly become aware of themselves. People who are unsure of who they are often adjust their behavior around someone who seems sure of themselves. Your entrance becomes a silent signal. Someone thoughtful just arrived. You don't have to speak for people to become more mindful of what they say. It's not fear, it's an unspoken awareness. You carry an energy that doesn't blend in, it reframes the atmosphere. And when others can't immediately read your reaction or your mood, they tread softly, like someone entering a room lit only by candles. Careful, respectful, and a little uncertain. 3. You're rarely challenged. One of the quiet privileges and burdens of a strong presence is that people rarely challenge you openly. They avoid debating you, even when they disagree. They hesitate to question your decisions, even when they have opinions. And they often default to phrases like, "Yeah, that makes sense," not because they always agree, but because they don't want to test the firmness beneath your calm. You don't raise your voice, you don't need to. The way you hold your posture, the clarity in your eyes, and the steadiness of your tone already communicate that you're not someone who gets easily pushed off balance. People sense that if they confront you, they'll need to be prepared, not for a fight, but for accountability. You choose your words carefully, you stand your ground, and you don't argue just to argue. This makes people who lack conviction step back. They'd rather nod along than risk being dismantled by someone who listens closely, reasons clearly, and doesn't fold under pressure. Intimidation isn't always loud, sometimes it's the quiet refusal to be shaken. 4. You notice nervous body language. If you've ever seen someone fidget when speaking to you, avoid eye contact, change their tone, or become unusually stiff, you're witnessing the body's natural response to feeling overexposed. Many people don't feel entirely comfortable under the gaze of someone who seems emotionally steady or perceptive. Your ability to listen intently, or maintain a calm expression can make others feel as though you're seeing more than they're saying. Suddenly, they become hyper-aware of their gestures, their words, their posture, even the silence between sentences. They play with jewelry, tap their fingers, laugh awkwardly, or adjust their clothing. All signs of someone trying to ease internal pressure. They aren't afraid of you, they're afraid of being read by you. They sense that you pick up on subtleties, the little shifts in tone, the cracks in stories, the emotional tremors people try to hide. And because you don't fill every gap with chatter, their minds fill the quiet with their own self-consciousness. Their nervousness is a reaction not to your behavior, but to your depth. 5 people assume you don't need help. People often see your independence as self-sufficiency carved in stone. You move through challenges without public complaint, you solve problems without broadcasting them, and you don't lean on others unless absolutely necessary. To you, this might be natural. To others, it feels like strength in its purest form. Because of that, people hesitate to offer help. They assume you've already got it under control. They assume you don't need support, advice, or reassurance. And in some ways, this unspoken distance can become isolating. People admire your strength from afar, but feel unqualified to step closer. They fear offering help that might seem unnecessary, or worse, insulting. They don't want to appear intrusive or incompetent. What they don't realize is that strength doesn't deny humanity. You're self-reliant, not invulnerable. But your aura of capability can be intimidating for those who rely heavily on others for direction or validation. They see your calm as certainty, your boundaries as walls, and your silence as confidence. And so, they stay back, convinced you don't need them. 6. You're hard to get close to, even without trying. You don't push people away, yet many feel they need permission to step closer. You're warm in your own way but selective with your energy. Your boundaries are clear, your emotions are steady, and your inner world isn't easily accessible. For many, that combination feels like approaching a door that may or may not open. You're not cold, just not easily swayed. You don't overshare. You reveal yourself slowly, intentionally. And in a world where many spill their thoughts without thinking, your restraint feels powerful. People sense depth in you, but they aren't sure if they're allowed to touch it. They admire you, but from a safe distance, as if getting closer requires a level of authenticity they're not sure they can maintain. Emotional transparency makes some people uncomfortable, and your groundedness exposes their lack of it. They worry about being judged, rejected, or seen too clearly. Without meaning to, you become a quiet test of character. Those who seek connection must bring sincerity, stability, and patience, and that alone intimidates many. Conclusion: intimidation isn't always about dominance, strength, or power displayed loudly. Sometimes it's wrapped in silence, in self-respect, in the way you carry your emotions with discipline instead of drama. People who are intimidated by you are often reacting to the qualities they wish they had: composure, clarity, self-awareness, authenticity. You challenge others without trying to. Your presence alone encourages honesty, accountability, and introspection. That can feel overwhelming to individuals who hide parts of themselves or live in constant inner conflict. But here's the truth: your intention has never been to create distance or discomfort. You're simply anchored in yourself, and that anchoring casts long shadows for those still searching for theirs. Instead of shrinking to make others comfortable, recognize the quiet strength you possess. Understand that intimidation is often just unspoken respect wrapped in insecurity. Your energy has gravity, not because you demand it, but because you embody it, and anyone who chooses to step closer will find not a storm, but a steady flame.